Dr. Brand is alone, thinking all of humanity has perished, but Cooper is on his way to find her. In this video, we'll explore what likely happened next, how they colonized Edmunds' planet, and the paths humanity took that ultimately led to the construction of the Tesseract. Brand is alone with Case, facing an extremely difficult mission. She believes humanity has now been reduced to just her and the embryos. She feels the crushing weight of responsibility, along with the grief of having lost everyone she loved. But she has a plan. Case is doing the heavy work, assembling habitat modules, solar panels, and power reactors. They need to map landslide zones carefully so they don't repeat the same mistake that killed Wolf Edmunds. Edmunds' planet has water, breathable air, and maybe even plant or bacterial life. As a biologist, Brand will be able to investigate all of it when the time is right. Brand cannot believe what she is seeing. Cooper has returned. Nothing seems to make sense, but Cooper brings earth-shattering news. He tells her how he managed to communicate with Murph, and that Plan A actually worked. Brand's desperate situation on the planet changes completely. Cooper's ranger brings extra supplies, batteries, and most importantly, TARS. With 2 military-grade robots, TARS and Case, and a brilliant engineer, the base's construction capacity triples, and their priorities change. There's a high chance they'll be able to communicate with the rest of humanity once Cooper Station crosses the wormhole. But that could take years. For safety, Cooper Station will need to carefully evaluate the crossing, send scouts ahead, and take every possible precaution before risking an entire civilization. With not enough fuel to return, and no guarantees that Cooper Station will arrive anytime soon, Cooper and Brand have no choice. They must carry out Plan B. Brand and Cooper activate the incubators. The first 10 baby girls are born from artificial wombs. Brand and Cooper become the parents of a new humanity, one that is starting over from zero. In the future, these girls will become surrogate mothers for the next embryos, continuing the human race. With their original supplies running low, they begin growing hydroponic crops and building sealed greenhouses using treated soil from Edmunds' planet. They plant resilient crops, including corn, Cooper's specialty, but without the blight that destroyed Earth. Brand contributes her knowledge of botany. Together, they make an excellent team, and as the only 2 adult humans on the planet, their emotional bond deepens and becomes much more intense. But even with the support of TARS and Case, they are working constantly, becoming more exhausted with each passing day. The base is no longer just a campsite. It has become a small village of interconnected modules, built using local materials. There is now a clear division of roles. Brand focuses on biology, the children's medical needs, and the expansion of the incubators. Cooper acts as the chief engineer, teaching the kids about agriculture, mechanics, and physics. They are sending signals in every possible way, trying to contact Cooper Station. But with no response, they still don't know how long the crossing will take, or what may have happened to the others. Now, a difficult decision must be made. Should they run the artificial wombs continuously to produce 10 new children a year, while simultaneously using the first-generation girls as surrogates as soon as physically possible? Or should they slow the process down and wait for the rest of humanity to arrive? After Murph's death, the situation on Cooper Station is not one of peace, but of political conflict. Different groups want to determine the station's ultimate fate, and the information circulating throughout the station is contradictory. Many feel betrayed by the alleged Plan B, which would have abandoned the people of Earth, and they want to bring down the leadership responsible for those decisions. Others are eager to leave the station and begin their lives in a new home. Conspiracy theorists claim that the Lazarus missions never happened. On Edmunds' planet, 10 years after her arrival, Brand is analyzing historical footage from a few laboratory cameras as part of her botanical research. But she notices something strange: a nighttime movement toward the communications module. It appears to be TARS. She immediately calls Cooper. Apprehensive, they dig into the old data and discover what looks like a deletion of messages. What exactly did TARS do? Overcome with uncertainty, Brand feels a sudden rush of adrenaline. Her life as a scientist has never been easy, and she fears she is on the brink of an emotional breakdown. Her past is heavy and difficult to process. During the first 10 years, the girls born from incubators were instructed about their purpose. But the ethical dilemma faced by Brand and Cooper kept disturbing her sleep. Should the future of humanity depend on choices quietly planted in the minds of innocent girls? Should contributing to reproduction be treated as an impersonal choice? Brand feels that her father's plan was far more difficult than she ever imagined back on Earth. In the other galaxy, Plan A seemed to be following its course. Cooper Station had been slowly dispatching expeditions to reevaluate the 12 original planets. Unlike the desperate rush of the first Lazarus missions, these efforts are now bogged down by bureaucracy and strict safety protocols. And while studying the promising three-planet system near the black hole Gargantua, scientists realized something new. Gargantua's accretion disk and gravitational lensing interfere with their observations. Depending on the orbital geometry, Edmunds' planet remains behind Gargantua's veil for years at a time, making contact and travel difficult. Cooper's departure had taken advantage of one of the last windows of opportunity. This means that the reconnaissance expedition to Edmunds' planet would have to be the last of the 12. Due to conflicts of interest, Cooper's escape was kept strictly classified. Only a handful of messages were transmitted to Edmunds' planet before the communication window closed, instructing, "Do not alter the planet's ecosystem. Suspend Plan B until authorities arrive. It may take time." But they never received those messages. TARS and CASE had been programmed to preserve humanity and ensure the execution of Plan B. By secretly monitoring the messages, TARS concluded that Cooper Station's instructions were not appropriate. Cooper confronts him harshly. "You lied to us." TARS says that omission is different from lying. The situation on Edmunds' planet is transformed. Cooper considers shutting down the robots he can no longer trust. Some of the girls defend them. They have grown too attached and see them as living beings. Suddenly, the hatch where they are standing is opened from the outside. Two humanoid robots enter and ask, "Do you support the Meridian Concord?" Confused, Cooper tries to take a more peaceful approach, but Case, as a military robot, steps up to the front line. Once again, the fate of the planet and of humanity is being put to the test. The Meridian Concord is the federation that controls the expeditions and Cooper Station. But the demand for democracy has been causing deeper and deeper divisions. To convince the population and prevent factions from forming, the Meridian Concord wants the figures of Cooper and Brand on its side when the time is right. But its style of governance is becoming increasingly authoritarian, and that is reflected in its machines. Shortly after arriving, the humanoid robots realize that the station on Edmunds' planet has not followed the guidelines of Plan A, and they begin taking a more aggressive approach. The Meridian Concord's grip on power is already hanging by a thread, and any misstep could trigger their downfall. While it waits for news from the expedition to Edmunds' planet and tries to establish control over the station, the situation descends into chaos when an independent scientist publishes evidence that the wormhole may be becoming unstable and could soon close. The decision of whether to cross and where to go will have to be made soon. But by whom? Amid the disorder, one of the workers leaks the information that Murph's father left the station years earlier.
It is curious to think that humanity will eventually evolve to the point of constructing the Tesseract. But what kind of humanity will that be? Trying to make things right with Cooper, Tars fights the robots sent by Cooper Station. His circuits are severely damaged, and Case is also heavily battered. Fortunately, they manage to obtain a few answers about the current state of civilization. Once Cooper realizes what is truly at stake and speaks with Brand, he decides to use the ship left behind by the robots and pay the station an unexpected visit. The pressure for elections aboard Cooper Station intensifies. The Meridian Concord has General Kessler as its central figure, and there is no consensus on who would be the best candidate to challenge him. The general is convinced that the passage through the wormhole must happen immediately, but the population remains divided. Thanks to Edmunds' planet's current position in relation to the wormhole, Cooper's journey is shorter than expected. He docks in the hangar, and news of his presence quickly spreads. Everyone wants to know what Edmunds' planet is like, whether Dr. Brand is alive, whether the crossing is safe, whether he was sent there or escaped. He is invited to speak privately with the Meridian Concord, but he does not feel safe. Instead, he speaks briefly with General Kessler in an open area and emphasizes that the most important thing now is to convince the people that the crossing is both safe and necessary. The general agrees, and they prepare for something the entire population has been waiting for. Cooper is going to speak. Broadcasting live to the entire station, Cooper begins. Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Cooper, father of Murph Cooper. About 100 years ago, I was recruited to continue the Lazarus Project. I piloted an expedition to evaluate the 3 most promising planets on the other side of the wormhole. We were told there were 2 plans for the continuation of human life, but during the mission, we discovered there was only one, and it didn't include saving the people left behind on Earth. It simply wasn't possible. There was no solution to manipulate gravity, and Professor Brand had not told that truth even to his own daughter. Receiving that information mid-journey was the most devastating moment of my life. My kids, my family, everyone was going to die, and there was nothing I could do. And we simply weren't ready to face physics as it truly is. We visited a planet where time moves slower, which is why I stand before you today at 48 years old. At the end of our mission, in a desperate bid to save Dr. Brand and give this whole journey some meaning, I threw myself to my death into Gargantua, the black hole near the 3 planets. What happened there is difficult to describe, but somehow I was protected, and I entered a multi-dimensional space. From there,
I was able to communicate with my daughter and transmit the crucial data needed to solve the problem of gravity manipulation. This is likely the part of the story Murph told you, the part no one believed. But Murph wasn't hallucinating. She told the truth. My daughter, brave as she is, saved you all because she believed in her father. When this station found me, I got the chance to say goodbye to her, and she reminded me that I needed to go to Edmunds' planet to help Brand, who was all alone. So, that's what I did. We spent 10 years there, unable to make contact with this station. We assumed something might have happened and initiated the backup plan to continue the human species. Through the incubators, we became the parents of 10 wonderful children. They are my family now, and that is where I am returning. But this time, I don't intend to go alone. I want to take all of you with me. The crossing is safe, and it was placed there for a reason. Earth, the past, all of it is part of our history, but we must look forward. Many sacrificed themselves so that we could be here today. We must honor them. We are explorers. Our place is among the stars. There have been times of darkness before, when lies and politics took the place of science. Perhaps more than anyone, I have learned that we are not defined by what we leave behind, but by what lies ahead. You can count on me.
Cooper's words ignite the emotions of the population like a torch. Without wasting time, the long-prepared crossing project begins. Cooper Station transforms into a modular caravan. The station slows its main rotation. Each pair of habitation rings becomes a rotating arc, 2 rings or cylinders spinning in opposite directions to cancel out angular momentum. Agricultural cores, archives, docks, and reactors also detach. Then, on the other side, they reassemble the station while already preparing for a permanent orbit around Edmunds' planet, where it becomes less of a single station and more of a migrating orbital city. Smaller spacecraft carry people and materials down to the planet. After the crossing succeeds, people begin suggesting Cooper's name as a candidate to lead Cooper Station, but he does not want the position. He aligns himself with Eris, a mathematician who advocates for placing technical experts in charge to make rational decisions based on logic and the scientific method. Only a few days before the first election since Earth was left behind, General Kessler is assassinated. Rumors spread about Cooper's involvement. For several days, everything is suspended, and the Meridian Concord wants to postpone the elections indefinitely. But an investigation led by Eris manages to connect the criminal act to the Rotas faction. Much of the faction is arrested, though some members still manage to remain hidden. This faction is made up of people resentful of Earth's dark past, people who want revenge. After Eris wins the election by a wide margin, Edmunds' planet begins to be truly colonized. Advanced engineering techniques gradually make use of everything the planet has to offer. Years pass, and humanity's reach expands far beyond it. Dr. Mann's planet eventually becomes a tourist destination, featuring inscriptions about human frailty and a memorial dedicated to Romilly. On Miller's planet, scientists discover a region temporarily shielded from the massive waves. Some people with terminal illnesses decide to relocate there to wait for technological advancements, since every hour on the surface equals 7 years in the outside universe. The planet essentially becomes a temporal refuge for those wishing to live in the future. Meanwhile, the study of Gargantua continues to accelerate scientific discoveries. There is a population boom and little need for politics, since the abundance of resources and possibilities leaves most people satisfied. At the age of 80, Cooper and Brand know that if they go to Miller's planet, they can wait for technology to evolve enough to extend life. They decide to go there. In only a few days, centuries pass outside, bringing about unimaginable advancements. To work near Gargantua, one must know where one is not in kilometers, but in space-time coordinates, giving rise to relativistic cartography. Interferometers spread across different orbits produce a film of Gargantua's shadow, collecting data. Telescopes placed far from Gargantua use it as a gravitational lens to obtain high-resolution images of extremely distant planets and star systems. After mastering the local star with a Dyson swarm and becoming a Type II civilization on the Kardashev scale, the next step is to draw energy from the black hole, an even more difficult task. Giant magnetic fields anchored in the near-light-speed plasma capture the rotational energy and the heat from the accretion disk, effectively functioning as a Gargantua dynamo. Quantum computers evolve and give rise to dense matter supercomputers, based on exotic states of matter capable of simulating the laws of the universe. Now there is not only materials engineering, but engineering of the stress-energy tensor itself. Experiments inspired by white dwarfs and neutron stars create ultra-stable materials. By this point, humanity is virtually unrecognizable. Biology is fully manipulated. People and machines have become one and the same. Some humans choose to spend centuries inside simulated realities. Others launch themselves across the cosmos in ships that deform space, no longer dependent on the limits imposed by the speed of light. Meanwhile, on Miller's planet, only 3 days have passed. The Rotas faction leaves the planet into a completely transformed reality and sets out for Earth, intending to restore it. A scientist from the faction closely follows the latest discoveries regarding the flow of time and entropy. She learns how to create objects with inverted entropy, and this fuels the faction's ambitions. If it were possible to invert an entire planet entropically, the past reality that destroyed Earth could be erased. The scientist realizes that, in order to stabilize the algorithm capable of inverting an entire planet, a causal anchor would be required, a fragment of future information that had already traveled into the past through the planet itself. Such a thing exists in only one place: Murph's watch.
The faction launches a major operation and steals the watch from the Relics Museum. Cooper is urgently warned that he must leave Miller's planet because the advances have become so extreme that their own reality is now at risk, and that it involves Murph's watch. When he leaves the planet, he learns only the news. After creating the physical algorithm, the scientist was overcome with remorse, destroyed the watch, hid 9 parts of the algorithm in the past, and killed herself. But what they do not know is that the Rotas faction has devised a way to recover the physical algorithm through inverted dead drop capsules. They begin communicating with and sending material into the past, using a man named Sator as the means to retrieve the algorithm. Years later, humanity discovers that the 3-dimensional universe is only a brain within a larger 5-dimensional universe, the bulk. But closed time-like curves are immutable. They create the past because the past has already created them. As 5-dimensional beings, time becomes to them like mountains and valleys. They build a hyperdimensional structure in the bulk and translate that geography into something the brain of Cooper's past self can understand. A hypercube focused on a powerful point of emotional connection: Murph's bedroom. The future Cooper watches the past Cooper enter the Tesseract inside a closed loop. This story ends here.